This is a story of mine that I've already recorded it once on YouTube, but I'm taking someone's advice. They said that it was too noisy because there's some background noise because not playing in the background. So I admit that was a bit of a shit fucking movie. But anyway, this is the 2035 without the sound effects, right? It's the story I wrote this in 2012. I wrote the story this year. It's called 2035. Well, it took me about 3 days actually. You ready?
Go on.
We are recording, good. 2035 AD. Sorry, Hatfield, big one. Hatfield 20. It's only a story, Jack and Rory. It's called Hatfield 2035 by William Joseph Bailey. Prologue. In the year 2017, in the year 2017, the entire world economy collapsed. The debt-ridden banks became bankrupt themselves, and the stock exchange closed down. It was hailed by the newspapers, and rather underestimated, as the 21st century Wall Street crash. There were major street riots in many of the larger cities across the globe, and the city of London became a blazing inferno. Shops were looted and set on fire with petrol bombs, hurled by angry protesters. And the Houses of Parliament were burnt to ashes. Politicians were kicked to the ground and beaten to death with clubs and hammers. The entire city of Westminster had to be evacuated, and London became a war zone. The royal family were put into exile and moved to Belfast in Northern Ireland, and what was left of London was sold to Arab immigrants, who now enforced Sharia law in the city. An enormous wall was built around the entire circumference of London, and no Western citizens or non-Muslims were permitted through the steel gates of the city. Any trespassers were immediately shot on sight. In the year 2020, work began on the construction of a new domed city, 40 miles north of London. It was called the City of Hope. You like this? And took 7 years to complete. Built by slave labour. Workers were paid in food vouchers, not money, paid for by the few remaining rich elite, who now governed the country with an iron fist. Armed, privatised police officers rigidly enforcing martial law. Shops and businesses closed down across the entire length of Britain, and the masses of unemployed citizens queue every day for hours for bowls of soup and bottles of fresh drinking water. Cash has been replaced by food vouchers for anybody lucky enough to find work, and all benefits, unemployment, disablement benefit, and pensions have been abolished. Curfew has been introduced, and anyone caught in the street after nightfall is executed on the spot. Within the domed city lived the idle rich, those who were fortunate enough to survive bankruptcy after the economic collapse. And just outside the city lived the remaining workforce, in a town of 25-storey tower blocks, factories and a hospital, run by the National Lottery Foundation. Just south of Gravestown, so called because the tower blocks were built on the remains of a once prosperous industrial estate, long since abandoned after the economic collapse, is the city dump. All of the state schools are closed, and citizens are expected to work from as young as 5 years old until the age of 50, at which age euthanasia is mandatory. There are no prisons anymore, and the only penalty for civil disobedience is execution. The year is 2035 AD. A large old rusty garbage truck pulls up outside the gates of the city dump. So I'm going to have to pause this for a second. Can't pause it, can I? Can you turn the oven off for me? Oh, no, leave it, don't worry.
You can.
Sorry, you can't stand up.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. The year is 2035 AD. A large old rusty garbage truck pulls up outside the gates of the city dump. The gates open automatically, and the vehicle enters the scrapyard. The driver climbs out of his cab dressed in a fluorescent orange uniform and carrying a submachine gun. He fires a few rounds of ammunition into the air before cautiously walking to the back of the garbage truck. He pulls a lever, tipping the day's rubbish from the domed city into another pile of waste. He climbs back into the driver's cab, turns on the headlights and drives off, back to the City of Hope. I'm going to just stop that right now, because actually I've got to get my dinner's burning. So my dinner's burning. So anyway, this is that was the prologue. Is prologue the beginning bit? That's the before bit. Prologue is the before bit. But now what I'm doing is re-recording this story because it didn't work out very well last night. So that was the prologue anyway. That's just the prologue of Hatfield 2035.